MLB regular season is coming to a close. Postseason is on deck. What's in store on the business front? Hello, everyone. This is Jabari Young, senior writer at Forbes, and this is Inside the Deal, taking you behind the scenes inside of athlete portfolios and the latest trends in the sports business world. And coming up in a minute, I'll be talking to Major League Baseball Chief Revenue Officer Noah Garden about transitioning the business from $10 billion to possibly more now that the pandemic is behind MLB. What's in store on the rule changes, how that's going to impact revenue, and of course, those jersey ads in 20 years of streaming. What has MLB learned? Taking you inside the business of baseball right now. Noah, the last time I saw you, right, we were in New York, and they had forgot about us. We were sitting there having a conversation for about an hour. They forgot to bring us the food. And then you had to leave to go to another meeting, and then me and another MLB official, we're down there just talking, Matt. So I haven't seen you since then, man. So how's the summer been?
I mean, summer's good. I still feel like that I owe you that lunch. I mean,
Yeah.
You came in and we didn't get to eat, but we did have a great conversation.
Yeah.
Summer's been great. It's been certainly a busy time for us and a lot going on, but it's been fun.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, listen, we got the bill. It was free. The food was free because they forgot about us. But listen, man, speaking of bills and money, summer's been great for you. MLB got started off to a little bit of a rocky start, but here we are ready to close out the regular season and head into the postseason. If you have to describe in one word, right, what would you say Noah Garden's word would be for, looking at the season as a whole? How's it been?
Exciting. I mean, to me, it's been exciting. There's been so many great storylines. I mean, and they're going on now, right? With the expanded playoffs, you see more teams in the mix right now. So you got more fan bases jazzed up and watching each night. Listen, we just saw a 700th home run by Albert Pujols. We've got another home run record in jeopardy in the American League, and people every single night are coming to the park to watch Aaron Judge. You got what Shohei Ohtani's doing. You got the young stars, Julio in Seattle, and the list goes on and on and on. But we've been very, very fortunate this year, and it's been some amazing storylines.
Yeah, exciting it is, man. Listen, you go back to 2019, right? I feel that for me, I feel like we're back to 2019 before the pandemic. And if you don't believe that, just look at the roads. The trucks are on the roads. I see Amazon vans all on the roads. And then I go into the baseball stadiums. Some of them are packed, some of them are not, depending on what teams are doing what. But it feels exciting back to 2019, right? And so I go back to that point. MLB was about $10 billion around 2019. And now, any projections? Are we going to the $11 billion mark now that we're past the pandemic, you think?
Listen, I think it's safe to say we're going to be higher than we were in 2019. The final numbers, when they come in, we'll see. We still have some time left, but certainly going to be over that number.
Yeah,
yes.
Nah, that's good. And then you have the sponsorship revenue, right? $1.6 billion you guys were last year. Are you anticipating that to be, more in 2022 after the 2022 season wraps up?
Yeah, I think what I'd say is all product lines have been headed in the right direction. So yes, sponsorship. I think you and I have talked about it before. We have new sponsors. You saw Capital One this year. I'll tell you, there's a bunch of new announcements coming over the next few weeks. Merchandise sales. We're gonna have a record year this year. We're gonna have sold the most in merchandise that we've ever sold in the history of our sport, both domestically and internationally. We've got new business development running strong. Gambling still picking up speed. Just across the board. The business is strong, which is good for us. And again, a reflection of our fans and most importantly, our players on the field that play this game each and every day.
Yeah. I want to talk about attendance, right? Because every year I feel like my colleagues in the media, we kind of go overboard. We say baseball is down. You go all the way back to 2007, right? That was about 79 million people that came through the gates. And that dropped in 2019 to about 68. But you guys have been here before, right? In 2018, you dropped under 70. Go all the way back to 2003. It's the first time that's happened. So it always fluctuates. You got people coming in, they come out, labor stuff happens. Right now, 2022, right? Where is MLB attendance? Where is it going to finish at the end of the year?
Listen, I think right now, depending on how things shake out, I think roughly we're going to be about 95, 96% of what we were in 19. And I think what you have to keep in mind is, right now, everybody's out there. We're all out there. We're all going back to live things. In April, it really wasn't like that. The pandemic was still here and we were still suffering the effects of it. Now you come over 6 months later. And what I can tell you is we've gained steam and ground each and every month throughout this season. And we're peaking now. And again, I think as I look to it and being 95% of where we were in 19, again, suffering from the same things at the beginning of the year, we view that very positive. Very positive.
Yeah. And I only say attendance because, listen, out of all of the sports, baseball is still relying. I think MLB and MLS still so reliant on attendance because you have so many games throughout the year. So, again, I think it's overblown. Me personally, I go to the parks and it's like, I don't care really, but I do look up in the stands. The Yankees games are always full because of where they at. Phillies was here and there. Mets, I probably caught them on a bad night when I went, but I don't really care, right? When you talk to your fan base, when you get feedback, does attendance or people going in, does that matter?
Listen, to me, it's really the number one thing. When you look at the game and, attendance and viewership, you want people to come to a game. When they come to a game, they're a fan for life. They have such an awesome time in the stadium, whether it's the food, whether it's the experience, whether it's the music, and certainly the play on the field. I think that's we want people to come through those turnstiles, right? That makes a fan an even greater fan and stickier. So, we watch that each and every day. But again, the numbers that we're seeing and the expanded playoffs, having more teams competing later in the season is really helping us. And I think that's why you're seeing the numbers peak now the way they are. Certainly we're having some help from our friends Judge and Pujols in certain areas, but the storylines are just great across the board. And you have teams that are competing right now that haven't competed for a playoff spot in a lot of years. Look at Seattle, right? So you're reviving fan bases that have been a little quieter over the last few years, but that's the beauty of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, the home run chases that Albert Pujols as well as Aaron Judge are chasing in their own careers, how's that been for the league? Every time I'm watching ESPN or they're cutting in on it, I'm like, it brings me back to the Sosa McGuire chase, not at that level or that intensity, but it is kind of fun to see that chase happening. How have you guys, what's the metrics say? What's the most impressive metrics you've seen since, especially your network partners started cutting in and really paying attention to it?
Listen, I'll give you a number of things. I'll give you some quantitative and some qualitative. But certainly, listen, Judge on the road this week, we're seeing in Toronto. The crowd in Toronto on Monday night was their best Monday night crowd in over 3 or 4 years, right? Wow. So, the Pujols crowds in St. Louis, people want to see history, right? You talk back, I kind of go back to the Sosa McGuire years too. I remember what it was like as a fan. It was before I was at baseball. So all those are really exciting. I think the other thing is, listen, I got 2 young kids, 2 young boys. They play youth sports. We go to practice, and at the end of the practice, we had a pizza party the other night, and they're eating their piece of pizza, which normally they stay all night, and they're like telling their parents they want to go home and see Judge at bat. So it's breaking through, right? People are excited. People like to see greatness, right? And you're seeing it on the field each and every day. And it's exciting. It's exciting for fans young and old. And we're fortunate to be involved in it right now.
It's been 20 years, right, since MLB first streamed their first game. What's that process been like? What's the biggest thing that the league has learned over 20 years of streaming?
I've been talking about this a lot lately because it is the 20th anniversary, and I was fortunate to be here. I started here in 2000 at MLB.com. I remember the first day we streamed a game. A lot of people won't remember this little box that was the Microsoft video player, and it used to say buffering on the right. And all I can remember is we launched it and it crashed, and it launched it and it crashed. And I was like, this could be my last day of baseball, right? This experiment's gone wrong, but it really hadn't. It was us sort of getting in front of the curve. We grew with the technology. We've been delivering. We said back then that our goal was, whether it had a plug or a battery, that we were going to deliver our content to fans on any device, anywhere that they are. And fortunately, we've achieved that goal. And then the technology's gotten better over time, and you can have more features and functionality. The streaming gets better. It gets clearer. You're doing it in 4K. To see sort of where we came from 20 years ago, it's crazy to think it's only been 20 years. And what I say is, like, everybody's like, what's it going to look like in the future in the next 20? It's going to look as archaic as it does to me now, what we did 20 years ago, what we're doing today. Like, technology moves with or without you. And, we made a decision long ago that we were going to be on the forefront of that, or at least try to be. And, we continue to press forward. It's been an amazing 20 years of delivering that product.
Yeah. When I'm thinking about conversations like this, I always go, I love going to sports bars in any city, sitting down, talking to your consumers, right, about not only the game, but things that they see. So I want you to step out of the chief revenue officer of MLB, right, and just step in as a fan at a sports bar. Man, you going back and forth. What does Noah Garden see from what I'm calling sports streaming wars? I got the NBA just lowered their league price, right? I'm sure you saw that. NFL Plus is up. MLS is getting their own franchise of streaming built by Apple. You guys, a partner of yours is Apple, and you guys have already had your streaming service up. It's already been up and running with some of the most prominent tech out there. What is Noah Garden seeing when it comes to sports streaming wars?
Yeah, listen, the way people consume content has shifted greatly. And I would say the pandemic even accelerated it to some extent. And I think what you're seeing is in the traditional linear space, which by the way, is still reaches the most fans and is the most important in the ecosystem, right? It still doesn't reach all your fans anymore. You've got cord nevers and you've got cord cutters, right? And everybody makes that decision for their own reasons. And you can't sort of figure out why they're doing one or the other, but you can't reach all your fans delivering on one medium anymore. So you just have, when you look at streaming, it's just it's an opportunity for us to reach fans that are sort of outside the bundle and offer them a product to consume either their favorite team or more than their favorite team or their favorite teams, right? Or their division or the rest of baseball. So, it's something that has accelerated probably faster than people thought because of the pandemic. People stuck in their house, they started consuming everything. I never thought that my mom was going to figure out how to use Netflix and call me and say, do you watch Ozark? I was like, she's never switching, right? Like she just sits back and does the TV, but the pandemic changed things for us. And so it's our job to adapt to it. And luckily we were in a position of doing this for so long. We were the first, we were the first to stream a live sporting event. We were the first to stream on the iPhone, first to stream on the iPad. We've tried to make sure that we're one step ahead and prepared for this moment. But you can never be fully prepared. So we're continuing to push forward. There's new devices that come out each and every day. They got to make sure that your product's on. And, we've got a team here that's working around the clock to achieve that.
Yeah. When I have these conversations, I tell people almost what you just said, that, leagues are kind of getting a jump at that consumer. Like my 9-year-old or your kids, they're never going to sign up for cable. Most likely not. They're always going to be outside. My daughter is growing up with an iPad, a Fire Stick, a phone, a Nintendo Switch. I don't think every time I say, have you watched cable? She says, the only time I watch cable is at grandma's house, and my mom doesn't have the internet. So that's the reason why she still has cable. But it's just that's what you guys are looking at, right? Preparing for that. Is that fair and accurate?
Yeah, that is. And, it gives you also different opportunities, right? When you're streaming, you don't have to have just one feed like you have on TV, right? So I can have a feed that's tailored towards kids. I can have a feed that's tailored towards, sports betting. I can have a feed that's tailored, to a traditional type of broadcast. You have an opportunity to reach fans, different cohorts of fans in ways that they want to consume the product, which offers opportunity for you. And so to me, it's just, you're going to see more and more opportunity. And a lot of it reminds me also of, mobile. When mobile came, all these eyeballs went to mobile. Everybody was there, but nobody could figure out how to monetize it, right? And they were like, oh my God, they're leaving traditional, they're going to mobile. How are we going to? That's what's happening with streaming too. And so everything's coming back around. Where the eyes go, the content follows. Where the content goes and follows, the money follows as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, man, a few more things I get you out of here. And the first is, what's it like to be a chief revenue officer at one of the highest sports right now in baseball, like America's pastime, and here you are serving one of the highest roles? I mean, listen, you're the money man, right? You got to make sure that's coming in clean and all the deals are set up. What's that like for you?
Well, I had a full head of hair before I took the job.
So did I. I had a full head of hair too.
Stress involved. But no, listen, I am, and I say this to my kids and I say it to my friends, I am the luckiest guy on this planet. I grew up loving this game. I've collected, you and I have talked about this. I'm a big sports card collector, baseball primarily, but all sports. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I've never sold a card. I have every single one I've ever touched on. To be fortunate enough to be part of this game is just been a blessing, and to be able to shape a game and help make it accessible to more fans, and just see smiles on people's faces. It reminded me of the smiles when my father first took me to my first game. It's like I pinch myself all the time. So I'm just fortunate, and I keep hoping I don't screw it up too much, so they want to kick me out the door. But so far, so good.
Yeah. How many times does Rob Manfred call you? Like, how many times a week?
Well, Rob and I have a great relationship. I will tell you that he is very, very active in the management of this game and making sure that our fans can see our product and all the things that people don't see that go on behind the scenes, all the important things that make this game run as effectively and important, as important it is to the fans. And so he's involved in just about every aspect of it. And, I talk to him constantly all day, every day for as long as I can remember.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to do. Give people insight to what goes on behind the scenes at MLB. One of those things in place already. How's the jersey patches, the ads? How have they been? Padres were the first to get on the market with Motorola coming on. How many teams have them? How many teams to go? What's that program looking like for MLB?
Listen, it's great. If you think about the asset, right? Like people look to sports. You see in the patches for the other leagues, there's kind of like these emerging brands that come out because it's such a visible piece of property that allows people to break through from all the noise that's going out there, especially when you're launching brands and otherwise. We have a very active marketplace right now for this. Padres, as you mentioned, it's already been announced. There's going to be a slew of this stuff. I think once the season ends, you're going to see more and more of these teams announcing their partners for next year. And, it is a vibrant market for us.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I almost thought that it would be saturated because everybody's coming online. But what you find is that there are so many companies out there that still need the eyeballs of sports to get their brand, to not lose market share. So they're continuing to advertise. What's the market looking like? Is recession, inflation slowing things down, or is sports continuing to be the recession-proof, sector that it is?
Listen, everything with the economy affects people, but I can tell you from a business standpoint, it's as strong as ever. And listen, I think you're right. There's competition in the marketplace. I think the good news for us is, how many games we play. How there's no more minutes in professional sport than baseball throughout a baseball season. So if you're looking for the ultimate in exposure for your brand, yes, there's other opportunities out there, but none that's going to give you the reach and eyeballs that we are here at Major League Baseball and the clubs. So we're in a good position. And I think being in that position, as competitive as it is, I think it shows the value that we have when you partner with one of our clubs or the league. So we feel good about it.
And in the postseason, they're adding helmet decals as well?
Yeah, won't see it this year, but you'll see it starting next year.
And that's just for postseason and MLB. How is that going to work?
Yeah, so that's going to be a national asset that you'll see in postseason. You'll probably, though we haven't landed on it entirely, you'll probably see something for Division Series, something for LCS, something for World Series, probably sold like that. Okay. But you will see it over next season.
So each team will have the same company on their helmet?
Yeah, that's going to be a national sale. And we do the same thing for international games. People don't, you don't really focus on it. But when we went to London a few years ago, and we'll be back next year, we sold the helmets there as well. We do it for all our international games in Mexico and everywhere, Puerto Rico, everywhere else we go. So this is sort of an extension of that. And it is going to be sold nationally, yes.
Okay. So you'll have possibly 3 sponsors then, one for each division, as well as one for the World Series, a helmet decal?
Yes.
Okay, man. Whoever's getting that World Series one, that's top dollar right there, right?
I mean, that's a lot of exposure. There's listen, World Series, 7 days, multi millions of people watching. I mean, listen, it's a big asset for sure.
Yeah. When do you expect those to be announced? Sometime next year, in the summer, or this year? Winter meetings?
Yeah, I think that's about right. I think for the national stuff, sometime mid-year is probably when you'll hear from us. Again, after the season, I think you'll start hearing from the clubs. Listen, over the next few weeks during the postseason, we have some exciting things coming down the pike too. So we should stay in touch. There's some other announcements.
Exclusive for Forbes, right?
Exclusive for you.
Well, I appreciate that, Noah. Hey, man, listen, looking ahead right fast. The rule changes. A lot of people were asking me about them. The pitch clock, there's going to be bigger bases. Is that going to impact revenue? And if so, how? How does that bring in more money?
Listen, here's how we look at it, right? It's going to increase action in the game and help with pace of play, right? Again, the money, it's not, you don't make these decisions for the money. You make these decisions for the good of the game, for the fans, to create action and excitement. The money always follows, right? The more happy a fan is at the games, and more people watching, more people coming through the turnstiles, and then ultimately I get the easy job. I just got to make money from it. So I would say that there's significant changes, right? When's the last time you made significant changes? But you're going to see a pace of play next year that you haven't seen in baseball in decades, quite frankly. And games are going to go down to, I think you've heard, they should go down in, 20, 30 minutes per game. And, that's going to make sure there's more excitement and more things going on when people turn on the channel or people sitting in the stands. So we're excited about it. And then again, I got the easy job. I'll make the money afterwards.
Yeah. And listen, man, the Yankees are worth $6 billion, right? I mean, the average MLB team, $2 billion worth now. That's up from 1.8. I say you're doing a pretty good job bringing in the money, Noah. That's the good thing, man.
It takes a village. I wish I could say it's me alone. I probably have the least amount to do with it. We got an amazing team here at MLB, that works day in and day out. This place has been filled throughout the pandemic, and listen, they're working hard, and it's paying off. And so I'm appreciative of it. I guess I get to be here with you and take some sort of credit, but I'm going to take that credit and give it right back to the team because that's where it belongs.
Absolutely, man. I give the credit for you. Thank you so much for the time, Noah. Noah Garden, Chief Revenue Officer, MLB. Enjoy the postseason.
Thanks, buddy. Good to see you.